It is our pleasure to be joined by a two-time Super Bowl champion. He was the 2018 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. He also hosts the Green Light podcast. And most people may not know this. He is Howie Long's son. Chris Long. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? I got a couple, Oklahoma legends on the Zoom call here. This is pretty cool. Teddy and I didn't really get a chance to talk, but I used to watch him play. So this is pretty good surprise here.
Yeah, I'm the old man of the group. That's okay. I could fall into that.
Yeah.
So how are the football withdrawals? You still have them?
Sometimes I do. I think everybody deals with it different. For me, it's just Sunday. It's like people say you miss your teammates. Yeah, I miss my teammates. Like, certainly I do, but I got two kids at home. It's part of the reason I retired. I got a family. I have buddies in my hometown. It's part of the reason I'm okay with retirement, but missing teammates, you can call them on the phone if you need to. I'm FaceTiming my buddies. Like, you stay in touch with the guys that you're supposed to stay in touch with. If you lose touch with guys, that means you weren't that close. Mm-hmm. It's just the plays, man. It's like the big plays on third down, a loud stadium. You just can't get that anywhere else. So sometimes on a Sunday, I'll feel in a big situation like my hair stand on end a little bit. But other than that, I really do like retirement. And, that's the give and take of this thing. You got to get out sometime.
I'm sure you still got a couple pass rushes in you, some situational stuff, right?
I feel good. Like, I think how I walked away from the game made me feel good about retirement too, because nobody ran me out. I felt good about getting out. I said, hey, I wanted to play 10 years or something. That's a goal. Okay, 11. I wanted to win a Super Bowl. I was very lucky to have an opportunity to be on two awesome teams that won two. And I had to wait a long time to do that. So, it was just a fulfilling career for me. And I'm just happy to be on this side of it, on the microphone with y'all, man. This is a grind. This is different though than playing. This is a different kind of grind, man.
It's just a busy grind. It's not like your body's tired, you're beat down grind. It's just like you've always got something else to do. But how do you like it? How do you like, kind of looking at it from a different aspect?
I think it's cool, man. I enjoy. This is how you replace the locker room. Like I say that, like I say, hey, you're not gonna miss the locker room. You are gonna miss the locker room. Like, it's hard to replicate that. But I think a lot of guys have gotten into this thing not just to pay the bills, but like, come on, we like to shoot the shit and kind of talk football and life and whatever. And this is kind of what we came from. It's hard for us to go out in the work world and just pick up like we've been in corporate America for 10, 12 years. Like guys get head starts on us. So this is an area where I feel like we can just dive right in and kind of, if you have a personality, if you're authentic, and if you study the game, you can fit in. So I think it's a really cool challenge. Playing was like an existential crisis. Like, it was like, if I fail, I feel like, there's no point in coming in the building the next day. The failures are not as like violent with podcasting. Like, you screw up,
you make fun of it.
Yeah, you make fun of it. You're just like, oh man, that was a shitty show. It was a bad question. Or I called Matthew McConaughey, Matt, on the show. The biggest guest I ever had. I'm like, how you doing, Matt? He's like, Matthew, Chris. And that felt like getting a touchdown scored on you on the pick six, the first drive of but like, it's funny when you think about it, all your failures are smaller. And it's nice not being under the gun. But on the other side of it, we all know this. You can't replace the upside of that thing. And that was the give and take of playing football, is like, you're going to have some of the worst days of your life, but the trade-off is some of the best days. So you have to get better at being like this, even keeled if you're a podcaster. And that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, but man, those negative reviews, those 1-star, 2 stars, you read a couple of those, man, you'll be hot. You'll be ready to strap the pads on and hit whoever gave you that 2-star.
It's true. You know what? But the better, it's easy to say once you're rolling and everything, and you guys have a thing here where you're rolling at, and I got a thing that I'm starting to roll at. But like, I just hope if you just try to be yourself, it's kind of self-selective. Like on our show, I'm going to try to be myself, and sometimes people don't know how to take that or whatever. But if you don't like it, you probably won't listen to the podcast, and that's okay with me. You know what I mean? I think this is about paying the bills and having something to do and having fun, like all the things we described. So I actually got off, I deleted Twitter off my phone because I just can't deal with that bullshit. It's like, why give people so much access to like what comes across your desk every day? And it's the same thing with like reading the comments. I do it, but I'm trying to get better about like, just, hey, do you, and be proud of the product. And then whatever people think is whatever people think. I mean, like, that's what this thing should be about.
My hero. You know, I've got flip phone envy. I wish I could throw away my everything I have and get a flip phone. That's
Me
what I
too,
want.
dude. I bought one last year, and my wife laughs at me. I do it like once a year. I do this like flip phone thing that I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be like Steve Jobs soon, or some, but you know, weekend you're like, damn, I need my navigation, or damn, my Spotify, I can't listen to my music. Even if you get over the hump on Twitter or Instagram, there's a bunch of shit they got you hooked into for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, let's talk some ball, man. And you played in 2 Super Bowls, and I'm just curious, how much different is it preparing for that game as opposed to another game, even another playoff game, right? Because you did it 2 different times, once with Doug Peterson with the Eagles, once with Bill Belichick with the Patriots. Just how different is it ramping up and getting ready to play in a Super Bowl?
It's so funny, and y'all know this, different start times. I mean, different start times, different circumstances. You know, we're very routine.
Longer halftime.
Yeah, longer halftime for sure. Like, there's all these little things that go into it that are different. I mean, like, I can tell you when I left St. Louis year 8, I mean, Bradford could tell you this, we never played in prime time. So, like, just to play primetime games was an adjustment. And then in Philly and New England, it was like, all of a sudden I had to figure out what I wanted to do for an 8 p.m. Like, what was my routine for that? You know, like, how much sleep did I want? You know, how did I want to kind of lay out my day? The Super Bowl, you can throw all that stuff out the window. There is no routine. You know, it's like you're literally just hitting the curveball and trying to cling to kind of your preparation, you know, main event type things that you do throughout the whole week. And that's like, you know, we used to have a big meeting before preseason, you know, the whole meeting, it's operations, like, you know, what training camp's going to look like. And once you get in the league, it's, you know, XYZ, it's all these things that they have to talk to you about. You have the same meeting before the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl week kicks off with like a 2.5, 3 hour meeting. And then, so then it's go try to win a football game on the run with everybody asking for tickets, new city, weird city, curfew, bunch of events you got to go to. Like, they tell you it's all about football, but then, you know, I'm going to get fined if I don't go to media day, you know? So it's just, it's a total shit show. I always give this anecdote. I remember my first Super Bowl I got to play in Houston for the Patriots. I just wanted to be alone. Like, it was like Thursday or whenever we got there, Wednesday, whatever. I go up to my room, I lock the door, I latch it, I turn everything off, and I'm just like laying on the bed. You know that moment when you get in your hotel room? And it was not peaceful at all. You could hear all the people outside, down outside the hotel. You could hear people in the hallway, doors slamming, helicopters outside, shit like that. You feel like you're in a fishbowl, and you got to maintain that focus and not make a mental error on the biggest stage. So, like, just getting to the game is crazy, but once it starts, you kind of forget the stage you're on until you screw something up between that play and the next. Then you're thinking about, am I trending right now because I dropped somebody in coverage or whatever you think about after you make a mistake. You know, or my parents at the game shaking their head, all that stuff comes about, but the week is really long.
Yeah. So take us in the timeline, because it's weird to have the week before the championship game. So you've got, like, call it a bye week, whatever, not playing, and then you play the weekend after. Is like a lot of the real practice work, game plan and stuff hammered into that first week, knowing that it's going to be crazy whenever you finally do travel?
Yeah. So a lot of it is actually, you know, and I learned the bye thing like right off the bat in New England, because, you know, like a bye week, what is that? Playoffs, what are those? But like a bye week was really illuminating in New England, because like Bill will try to get a lot of fundamental stuff done right off the bat. So like it's almost like a get back to basics. Let's do some of our really physical stuff. Of course, it's like cold in New England, so you're out there in full pads. And, you know, like our CBA now, we don't have to be in pads as much late in the season, which for veterans is, you know, it's not the end of the world. Like, I know how to put my hands on somebody, but for young guys, they need those reps. And so it's a good opportunity to get back to the pads. It's a good opportunity to get back to the basics. And like, it depends on the coach. Coach might phase it upstairs. We're working really hard on getting ahead. If we're the Rams, we're getting ahead on Cincinnati red zone or something, or some special package they run. And on the field downstairs, everybody's supposed to just hone in for a second on like fundamentals for a day. And then like gradually you get into once it gets to game week, again, like for normalcy, you want to have your Wednesday as your inside run day, your Thursday is your nickel back end day, your sub package day, and then Friday's like your red zone, kind of like just shorts and shoulder pads day. Whatever they do, they try to get right into that like kind of zone for that week. So when we get there, everything might feel crazy, but at least practice feels kind of normal.
That's kind of what you did with New England. Was it similar the next year? You did the same thing with Philadelphia, kind of the same schedule, same prep?
There's little intricate differences, intricate differences. And Doug was certainly less like, I don't know what the word would be, vindictive with the pads in that bye week. But I think everybody's trying to land that plane, smoothly when you get to wherever you're going, and make guys feel like, although people are bothering you for tickets, although your hotel's loud as hell, you can't even go get ice without, checking with a security guy, and that's how you're living all week. Like, that's good on a Saturday night, but all week you're doing that, people pulling at you, media day. At least, Wednesday it's inside run, Thursday it's, we're going to get our sub stuff done, and it's going to feel like home. Although it doesn't, but they're trying.
So what's it like? I mean, that's the lead up. What's it like whenever it's over and you've won one? I mean, does it seems like the craziness doesn't even stop there? Like you've just entered yourself into another 10, 14 days of insaneness, right?
Yeah. So, take your Toradol Sunday and then prepare for like a liver function marathon for the next, 8 to 10 days. If you're going to win, I mean, I never lost. And I'm not saying that like, hey, I'm on the team, but I never had to deal with losing one. Now, Rob Nikovich told me, because we were down 28-3 at the half against the Falcons. He was like, let me tell you something. And he said this leading up to the game, to be fair. He was like, Chris, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you in your life, or it's going to be something that you're never going to live down. He goes, I just want you to know, like, if we lose this, you will wish we won one game. So I can't tell you what that feels like, but I can tell you what the other thing feels like. And it feels like you're in a movie. Like, it legitimately feels like your character's in a movie, especially winning like in a place like Philly, getting to go to that, the parade.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, dude. The parade is easily, the game is cool. That's amazing. But the parade is the real deal kind of thing. If they put it on right, if you're in one of those cities, 1 million people in the streets, like, you're like, we don't even deserve this, but hell yeah, this is and then you go on vacation and you don't stop, and you look back and go, I have not had a night sober in 2 weeks, man. I'm 33 years old. Like, leave this to the rookies.
And then it's almost time to report for next year whenever you play the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you got to get over it, because it's really hard to repeat. I saw it firsthand on the Eagles. I didn't get a chance to try to repeat in New England because I left in free agency, but like in Philly, I learned pretty quick what everybody talks about, that it's different the next year. It's not, I'm not saying we weren't trying to be ready, but there's an art to that. It's an art and a science, you know what I mean? And they got it down up in New England. And that's why I think the amazing thing about New England isn't the fact that they've been so good, but it's that they've been good every year. They've been able to get up off the mat and go back and win or lose the next Super Bowl. Most teams don't even make the playoffs, it feels like.
So you won Super Bowl 51 with the Patriots in that crazy comeback against the Falcons.
Yeah.
Then the next year you turn around, you win Super Bowl 52 with the Eagles against the Patriots. Like, how weird was that, where, hey, you had just won the Super Bowl with this team, now you're playing them in the Super Bowl? Were you just trying to remember everything you could about that Patriots defense and trying to give it to your teammates? Like, what was that like?
It's so funny because people always, all of a sudden, everybody's attention's turned to you, like, give us the book on beating the Patriots. I'm like, hey, man, many have tried. You know what I mean? Like, you know, those head coaches that leave there and can't beat the Patriots, you expect me to give you like a couple tips and we're going to go, you know what I mean? So
The key's full pads on Wednesday, right? That's the
yeah,
key.
it's full pads on Wednesday. Oh yeah, and it's having like the best D line in history. You know, that helps too. And then you got to hope for some other things to fall. But honestly, it's one of those things you forget so much about. I've been in so many schemes in my career. I don't know about y'all trying to remember. I'm sure there's strangely things y'all remember from your OU days that you remember a call or something, but not the whole damn playbook. And especially not like New England, as complex as they are defensively. You know, I kind of keep things as simple as I can up front. I know the basics. I know like, hey, I know what safety's down. I know the down and distance. I know any number of variable, run schemes I could get, and I've watched a lot of film, but I'm not going to know all the secondary calls and all that shit. So I don't think I was too helpful.
So
like dudes were like, we got the secret weapon. What do you know? I was like, I don't know. Like they don't like to run by. They don't like to run by the quarterback.
High in cover two is what we usually
I'll
do.
tell you. Yeah, that's exactly right. There's 3 of them in cover 3.
So what was that like? The comeback was incredible. What was the swing of emotion like where it looks like we're going to get routed and then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. We got something here. And then it's a freight train.
The Super Bowl feels like it's like 6 hours long. That's the one big difference because of what you mentioned, Teddy, like the halftime, but also the magnitude of the whole thing. I think kind of in some ways you feel like you're out there and it's so intense. It's like your dog on the highway and cars are just flying by. But in some ways, the damn game takes 7 hours. There's so many swings of momentum and emotion because of long breaks and stuff. And I mean, at halftime, it felt like I was on, the only New England team that ever got blew out in the Super Bowl. Like, hey, I played my whole life. I want to cash it in and win, and my 2 teams that it came down to for me in free agency were New England and Atlanta. And I remember thinking, like, I am such a dumbass.
No way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I wasn't like actively having those thoughts, but when you're on the football field, it's crazy some of the thoughts you have. And I'm sitting there with Ninko, and we're just like, damn, dude. And we go into the half. And another thing was at this point in the playoffs, all year I had kind of been a 3 technique, kind of undersized 3 technique for them, and then I'd kick out to right end to rush on 3rd down. Hey, whatever it takes. But in the playoffs, I became more of just the nickel guy. So I was like just a sub guy, depending on the run schemes we saw. We couldn't even get the 3rd down. I think I played 4 snaps. So I like waited my whole life to be in a game like this. And you're like, damn, we're not only getting dusted off, I'm like not even sweating. And so just coming out in the second half, trying to just as a player compartmentalize that stuff and just play your ass off. Like that's all you can do. We went into the half, and I don't know if everybody believed it in there, but guys were talking like we were going to win that game. Now me, I'm a realist. I'm somebody who does things one thing at a time, and I'm looking around like talking about we're coming back. Like, let's get a stop. Let's like
let's get the 3rd down.
Let's get the 3rd down so I can play. And I'll always remember Bill was so calm. Like Bill was so like this. And again, like most coaches are going to save their best speech for that situation, but he was kind of like, hey, stick to the script. Let's do what we do. And let's not make mistakes. We're going to make the adjustments we make. We came out there, we got good fortune in a couple turnovers, and they really kind of tricked it off. And we didn't make mistakes. And that's a credit to Tom and to Bill. Like nobody panicked. And that was because of those 2 guys.
You mentioned Tom Brady. When you're in that situation, because I've heard guys talk about it before, and it's just like when that dude's on your team, like you just never feel like you're out of it, even when you feel like you're getting routed in the Super Bowl in the first half. Is that how it felt?
Well, it's funny. It's so hard to break the habit of losing. Like me coming from where I came from, we don't come back when it's 28-3. We don't come back when it's 10-3, like where I've been. So, I think maybe part of it is the repetition of being in situations where you actually win makes the entire team believe. You know what I mean? And they do that as Tom, kind of grows up right before their eyes. And if you've been on a Tom Brady team, you've seen him do something amazing. So like, it's just muscle memory. Like, teams have muscle memory. If you're on a team that blows a lot of leads, if you're on a team that turns the ball over a lot in the second half, you're on a team that's, eventually gets the ball run up their ass, like in the second half, that's in your muscle memory. And like, I know people don't decide to suck, but I am saying that, like on certain teams, it is embedded in like, this is what we do. And I think in that team, there's no quit embedded in them because they're never out of it. Like, because they're truly not out of it. And that's what you saw in the, with Tom in Tampa against LA. They came up just short, but they didn't even play well in the second half against Tampa. Like, they made a lot of mistakes and still came back and won that game. Now, LA was really bad in the second half, but that's the opportunity Tom gives you.
What's his process like? Is it truly like different than anyone else you've seen? Like the way he goes about off season, in season, like he's very meticulous with his water consumption and rest and like every little detail.
Yeah, I think it is the, like, for him to win 7 rings or whatever, like, that's the perfect storm. It's Tom, it's where he was, it's, the good luck, it's, things going his way. But he's also, even if, without all those rings, he's like the preparation GOAT as well. He really is. He has kind of taken ownership of every part of his life, it feels like. And one thing that people don't think about when they get in the NFL, a lot of young, talented guys, is that work doesn't stop when you leave the building. Like, you don't go back to your apartment anymore and play Xbox. Like, you're going to have a lot of choices and you're going to have opportunities to invest in yourself as a pro all year long. And Tom has seized like every one of those opportunities for 20 years. Now, that takes like a lot of focus. It takes a lot of like not getting bored with it. But I think more than anything, it just takes like wanting it really bad, like on a psychotic level. Because we all know there's a line between like working your ass off and being a little crazy. And this guy has towed that line, and he's also worked smart. So the guy's just the complete package in every way. I mean, and that's why you see 7 rings. I mean, if he was not maybe the preparation GOAT, he might have 3 rings. If he was not, physically obsessed with pliability and endurance and longevity, maybe he has 3 rings. But he combined all those things, like the mental, the physical, and the leadership. The guy's a leader, and guys love him on his team. Like, any guy that played with him loves this guy.
Do you think he's actually done?
So I didn't believe it when he retired. It came out of left field, especially because like somebody like him, you would think it would have like a victory tour. Wouldn't you think? I mean,
he definitely has earned one. That's for damn sure.
He's so intentional about everything, dude. Like, you're going to tell me he just changed his mind in December? I don't know. Like, I really don't know. And so initially I thought, when they leaked that stuff, I thought nobody scoops Tom Brady, dude. Like, nobody scoops Tom Brady. Like, nobody has the balls to scoop Tom Brady. Well, maybe Schefter, but Darlington was like kind of his guy. So I was thinking maybe this was a setup and we were all going to lean in, and then he was going to have like a Bitcoin commercial during the Super Bowl, or like a I'm coming back commercial, and I'm launching a production company, like something to make him richer and, more successful. And we all just lean in and eat it up. But maybe not.
Well, it took him about a week to say, never say never, which it's like, you haven't even completed the retirement speech yet. And
if you say never, like, it's over, dude. You're back. I mean, like, you're mentally at least back.
Okay, but before we, talk Super Bowl 56, you won 2 of them. Did they feel the same? Like, is it different, or because it's a completely different group of guys? Like,
yeah,
what was different between the 2 Super Bowl wins?
They're both incredible. They're both like the deepest bond you could, form with a fan base or teammates, and the whole experience is just like, whoa, holy shit. But for me, like everybody, if they get a chance to win 2, like luckily for me, I got a chance to win 2 back to back, but they were very different experiences for me. One was hey, I had been on IR for a couple years. I got cut. Like I was a captain of my team, and then I get cut within 2 years because of injuries. And you're just like, dude, I've had some shitty luck. You know, I've been very blessed and fortunate, but I've also had some shitty football luck here. I just need to cash it in. I don't care if I'm playing a lot. I don't care if it's the right situation for me. I'm ring chasing. And so that was like the New England feeling was, it was like a relief for me. It was like such a relief that like, okay, my career is not a failure. You know, like individual successes are great, but I wanted to win. So it's not a failure. And there was a big release, but like to go win in Philly, like I went to Philly because I wanted to have fun and finish my career, like kind of on my terms, schematically. And we weren't picked to be in the top 10. We weren't picked to be in the top 15. We weren't picked to be in the top 2/3 of the league. So for us to win that championship, especially losing Carson, that whole thing, the city never having won one before, we weren't favored in any of our postseason games. Like, holy shit, that felt like, when I say like felt like a movie, like that felt like a movie. We just felt like kind of we were that team. And, you know, you guys know Lane, and ask Lane about like just how deep that thing runs, man. Like that championship run, it's just like, it's burnt in your brain. That was one of the most intense months of our lives, like ever. And so Philly felt a little different just because of the whole how it happened, and you know the city it happened in. I mean, New England, they do that every year. You know, the parade runs very smoothly. They have the route picked out, the whole thing. Philly was like, hey, we hadn't thought about this parade, but it was kind of this. It was awesome all the same.
Well, I got to imagine the kind of a two-parter, you know, because of going there with not really ring expectations and wanting to have fun. Was it had to be more enjoyable for the ride, like getting there? It's like, oh my God, we found something here. This is crazy. But also, like when you were there in the game, were you able, like the week, how you talked about you couldn't sit down and relax on that first one, the second time around, were you able to like maybe enjoy the moment a little bit more?
I think it's more like, well, and it's cool in one way because you go from the first time, I'm the guy who I've never won. Like everybody knows, like, hey, if you know me, you know where we've been, you know how bad the Rams were. So that was like I was ring chasing. So that's kind of one way of looking at it. And then the second time around, you know, I
Everyone's
think
coming to you for answers, right? It's like,
that's the whole thing. Like everybody all of a sudden is like, what's the key? And I'm trying to remember the first rookie that walked up to me and like kind of cornered me for questions. I'm like, I told people the same thing, like that I would tell y'all, which is, it really doesn't matter how much experience you have. It honestly, like, turn on the playoffs every postseason. Somebody who's never been in the postseason makes a big play. A rookie makes a big play. A veteran makes a huge mistake. So I think sometimes all you need to hear from somebody who's been there is that this is no different. You know, like we, in this case, we were playing the Patriots. We put our pants on the same way they do. I've been there, dude. Like I've been there, and that defense is not the defense we had, and that was a lot of the reason we were able to beat that team. But I think sometimes it's the kind of the stability of having a vet who's been there, whether they were there for the first time a year ago, or if they were like a New England guy who's seen it 4 times. It's all about execution, and it's about like who's not trying to do too much, because you'll sit there in a playoff game and be like, I've been waiting my whole life to play in a playoff game. And then you'll jump out of your gap trying to do too much or run by the quarterback. And then you end up making the big mistake. You know, it's your job to step up when it's time to step up. And I think that was the big message. But that was a big difference for me. It was more fun because I kind of was like, people respected where you've been. And that was cool. It was like, it was easy for me to lead, you know, as an older guy in that locker room.
second part is because you guys weren't really, the expectation thing was different. And then it's like almost all of a sudden you found yourself like, hey, we may make a run. Kind of like Cincinnati this year.
That's
And
exactly right.
kind of the same thing with that fan base, to where like they're in the middle of a rebuild maybe, and then all of a sudden they're in a Super Bowl. Like if they win it, it's probably going to be, there's going to be a lot of similarities to Philly. So it's just kind of interesting to see how that's played out.
It is so interesting. And I said this last week on the show. I was like, man, I was trying to think of who Cincinnati's fan base reminds me of. And it really is the Eagles. Like, and I don't mean this and that I figure I know what the hell they're about or anything. I just mean really passionate fan bases who have been close. Like they've been close since he's been close. Like they had a whole era where they were close. And then the Andy Reid Eagles, as close as they were, just starved for a championship, and then happened to have, this kind of team that's got this swagger about them where people like they blink a little bit when they play the Bengals. Like the Bengals don't blink, like for some reason, like I had them last year. I had their over win total. So it was like 4.5 or 5.5 or something. And they should have won 8 games. They should have won 9 games. They should have won 10 games. But they were like just short. They just made like one mistake too many or whatever. And what a year under, their belt with Joe gave them was like they just became this team that believes and don't make, the stupid mistakes more often than not. And even if they do, like Burrow threw a pick last week late, they just have this, we got this attitude. And it all starts with the guy under center. Like he's the bravest dude on the field. Like I really think he'd stare down a tank. Like he's nuts. You can see it in his eyes. I mean, and I think that's what makes them special. And it does remind me of Philly.
I think all of us are big Joe Burrow guys. Love the way he plays, but the Rams did draft you second overall back in 08. I know that was St. Louis. You were there 8 years. They moved to LA. Like, is there a big part of you that's like you want to see the Rams win a Super Bowl, or is that really not a factor?
It's not, because of the St. Louis thing. Like, like I'm kind of loyal, and St. Louis, they don't like that the Rams left. So it's been an awkward thing. It was kind of messed up. It was messed up. And like the way they rolled out and just so the fans, I can never like jump off my couch rooting for the LA Rams, but I do root for a lot of the players. I root for a lot of the guys on the team. You know how that is. Aaron Donald's a buddy, and he's a guy who I saw as a rookie come in and outwork every veteran on the team. I want to see him get a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That if I, at the end of the game, see Joe Burrow throw a game-winning touchdown, the one thing that is going to really suck about that whole sequence is going to be Johnny Hecker, Aaron Donald, some of the staff people on that team. I know a lot of them well, but no allegiance to the Rams.
It's interesting. You've got a lot of those guys obviously been there, but Stafford comes in, and it's weird to think with how experienced he is, how much time he's been in the league, and you compare him to Joe Burrow, who won a national championship. Like here he is in the Super Bowl. Like it feels like the guy with all the pressure on him in this situation is Matt Stafford. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's what it feels like. It's like, oh my God.
Listen, you're hosting the Super Bowl in your new stadium. You've burnt all your draft capital. Like you've burnt the ships. And maybe they believe they can keep burning them perpetually, but like they don't believe in draft capital. You came over from Detroit. You've been fighting this whole narrative. The middle of your season, people said, "No, he's who we thought he was," because I think he was hurt, honestly. And you've dealt with all this to go on this perfect run in the playoffs. And the harsh reality of knowing, even doing that, if you lose this game, a lot of people are going to say, "Told you so." That's the game. Like that's the business, and that's kind of what's unfair about it. And I think a lot of that pressure, as you pointed out, is on Matt Stafford. Joe Burrow.
Well, Joe Burrow's got more playoff wins, right?
But they're just letting it fly, man. Like they're not thinking. And I think they're like, it's who blinks. And I don't know. I hope Matt doesn't blink, but there's a lot of pressure, as you said.
So Rams are a 4-point favorite. Just from listening to you talk about Burrow and the Bengals, like it sounds like you like Cincinnati, huh?
So I like them catching 4. I do like them catching 4, and I actually like the under. I think big question's obviously the front. If you can, like, it's it doesn't have to look like Tennessee to lose you the game. You know, Tennessee was a disaster. Like, they got their asses handed to them in Tennessee. The reason I didn't worry about them so much last week is, you know, the Chiefs, they don't really rush four conventionally as well as like a Tennessee, but LA rushes four conventionally just as well as Tennessee. So they have to figure something out there. That secondary's got to keep playing big. And hey, if you can pressure Stafford with four, because you know you don't want to blitz Stafford. If Trey and those guys can go off, which I think they can keep this game low scoring and tight. And I like them against the spread. I don't want to give out my winner yet because I'll change my mind 3 times by Sunday.
Do you do any of the prop bets or any of that stuff?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get more into it, but like I don't know, this weekend I'm trying to think of one that I might like, but I like the crazy ones, you know, like Gatorade and shit like
Orange.
that.
Orange.
I had a friend, I was with him, we were in Las Vegas, and he bet on the first score being a safety whenever they snapped it over Peyton Manning's head. It was awesome.
How much did that pay out?
It wasn't as crazy as you would think it should have been.
His first score safety probably like plus 700 or something, plus 800.
Yeah, it may not have even been that much, but it was I was like, I can't believe that happened.
That's still amazing.
Yeah.
That'll have that guy gambling through losses for 6 months. That's like that one hit of dopamine is going to keep you going, man. That's what it's all about.
I'll just say this. That was a good sign for him for the rest of that weekend. I'll just say that.
Nice. Good. If he's listening, I'm sure it's true.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There is, last time Rams played in the Super Bowl, right? And they have a few guys that were on that team that played in that game. But the big storyline after it was Sean McVay, right? And him talking about, I don't know, basically like questioning everything about himself and his approach to that game. And basically Belichick just broke him.
Yeah.
What do you think he gained like valuable experience from that? Or do you think that's something that maybe works against him?
All depends on your mindset. I really do believe that. I think if he's who I believe he is mentally, he's going to have gotten something out of that. But obviously, if you're struggling with that loss in an unhealthy way, that could certainly put more pressure on you. I mean, especially considering the guy across from you here in Zach Taylor. I do think one big thing for McVay is it would have been really bad had he lost to Kyle last week. Again, this was 7 and 10 times. They're buddies and everything, but eventually that shit's not funny. And especially because of somebody in division, and you finally have your Matt Stafford. The thing that has been holding you back has been Jared Goff. Like, that's what everybody knows. So now you have everything you need and you fail. So I really think that win last week was big. I think this is a huge legacy game for McVay. No questions asked. I mean, to be there twice, it's funny. You're getting into like Bills territory here in the early 90s. And I'm not being funny. I really like Sean McVay, but if they lose again, it's going to be tough on him.
Yeah. Do you think this thing with Cincy is like a sustainable, they're here to stay? And who knows, like you mentioned, it's hard to go like back to back. I don't think anyone's picking that. We'll be picking them as a Super Bowl favorite next year, even if they win the thing. But you see this thing especially with Joe Burrow and some of the good young skill guys they got, this is a sustainable long-term type of football team?
Yeah, because they have this really unique, sequence that they hit on. They went chase over protection for the guy who
got hammered for it too.
Got hammered for it. They got hammered for it. He's been hit hard. He's been hurt. But now they have the luxury to make that pick with this great foundation under them as a team, as an offense, and like they can go beef up the offensive line now. You've got a bunch of pass catchers on rookie deals. You have a quarterback on a rookie deal. He also is from Ohio, like he's from like right down the road. So you got to figure if they get this thing rolling, he's that rare kind of psycho that's like, I don't care. Like, let's keep everybody fed. I really do think, again, like Trey Hendrickson on defense, they've got a nice little window here the next 5 years. We say this about every team that gets hot with a young quarterback. We said this about the Chiefs. How many will they win? 3 or 4, or like whatever. You see, it's been 1. You see how hard it is. But I think the Bengals have an opportunity here.
Earlier, you mentioned, talking to young guys about playing in the Super Bowl, how you'll see an unexpected guy make a play.
Yeah.
Right. Who's a guy or maybe two that you could see having kind of a surprising impact in this one?
Man, I could see Greg Gaines having a big impact. Greg Gaines, interior rusher, not just because he's 91 for the Rams.
I was about to say
he's another white guy. Just pick the white number 91 for the Rams. I think it's I think Greg Gaines, because he plays opposite Aaron. I don't know how they're going to game plan Aaron. They're going to throw a whole host of bodies at him. Guy looks like John Wick out there, just like fighting 10 dudes on the field. I mean, some of these blocking schemes are ridiculous. And so Greg Gaines cleans up, but he's also a really good player in his own right. And the most vulnerable spot for me, when you look at the Bengals, their protection is interior. I mean, you can survive at tackle. You've got one tackle who plays at a pretty high level, or relatively high level. The other guys had trouble. And, when you can throw a chipper at that guy, you can do a whole lot of things. But if guards are struggling, and you've got 2 guys inside that are dominant, I think Greg Gaines could be a big swing guy here.
Yeah, no, that's good pick. All right, before we let you get out of here, man, how can our listeners support your foundation? I know that means a lot to you. You've done a great job with Water Boys over the years. So
yep.
How can they donate?
Yep. I appreciate it. ChrisLongFoundation.org, waterboys.org. We're actually just rolling out a new site, so that'll be up soon. But yeah, we do clean water initiatives. We do domestic work as well. So we have a hometown H2O deal as well. So we might be doing some projects in Oklahoma at some point here. We've done them out here at home in Texas and all around. So we're doing some domestic work, international work. And there's educational information on the stuff we do with educational equity on the site as well.
Nice, man. Well, appreciate the time. Hopefully we'll go to a music festival again together soon.
Dude, yeah, Bonnaroo's lineup was so freaking great last year, and then it got canceled, and now this lineup looks really cheeks. This lineup is like a kid lineup. It's like all for 22-year-olds. We're too old, dude. That's the problem.
We're getting old, man.
That's the problem. All right, well, I'll see you on the farm.
All right, boy. Thank you.